Okay, so another sort of horse medicine video. One of the things when I come out here, I bring somebody out here, it's that sort of noticing and paying attention of what's happening in the space with the herd. And so the exchanges or the offering of horses and their medicine is not just about the interactions we get with a certain horse, but also how are they being when we come in the space. And so part of the philosophy and the space that I facilitate when my horses have taught me is the horses don't really have to do anything but, be. And there's Chief just having a lick on chew on that. And part of what we receive from them is just coming and being in their space and noticing what they have to offer us when we walk in. And so when I walked in here, and we'll see kind of what unfolds, what sort of struck out to me a little bit were the horses that were standing. Indra's lying down over there. We had Chief and Tarina that were in sort of this place of stillness, and also with their hind end towards us. There's been a bit of shifting when we're out here. But I want to talk about the positioning of the horses. And again, what we kind of receive just for them from being in their body language. So one of the things that we learn about with horses is to watch the hind end of the horse, right? It is often depicted as dangerous or that we have to be aware of. We're going to get a little bit of Chief medicine here potentially, so we'll just see what happens with that. But the hind end of the horse, that's their blind spot, and they can't see. And so when they often give us their hind end, or we come out there and we see that, there's an interpretation around that where it's about receiving, it's trust and vulnerability. There's a pony having a lick and chew. There's a softness to that space, that offering that sort of body position there says, I trust you, I feel safe with you. So one of the things that we learn from horses is to read not just the body language, but the energy, right? When we come out here. And so I'm kind of unpacking as I'm out here actually, but one of the things that when I came out here and I saw the horses just standing really still with their hind end, there's been a little bit of shifting since I've come. Invitation for me of where can I soften? Where are they showing me that they trust and feel okay being vulnerable in the space? And we can even see that with Indra lying down over there. And so again, when I'm bringing somebody in here, or I'm coming in myself and I'm curious about what do the horses have to offer to me, I'm taking in the whole scene. Of course, that can shift while we're in there. And I'm reading the energy behind the body language, right? And I'm being curious about what is that creating an invitation of for me. I also want to, I'll come over here to Tarina. Sometimes it is just kind of going where I feel called to. So there's been a bit of shifting since I'm out here. So you're just gonna roll with me here. When I bring someone out here, for me, myself, one of the things that I'll sit with is what energy do I feel drawn towards and what's significant about that. So I just wanted to come over here with Tarina. I'm stopping because I don't know if people saw that, but she just lifted her head a little bit. And so that's a communication to me of just being mindful of how I walk into her space. So I look at what energy is drawing me in the space. What do I feel called towards? And then I move into that energy and I ask and I get curious about what's here for me. So we're going to unpack a little bit with Tarina and see if this resonates with anybody too. And this is a little bit of me also getting some horse medicine for myself personally. So I also like to pay attention too with what direction they're standing in. So Tarina's facing the west. In First Nations teaching, or the medicine wheel, and medicine wheel, by the way, is not universal in the meaning. Different tribes and different bands have different meaning towards the medicine wheel. So this is what I've been exposed to. The west is about introspection, kind of the dream within the dream. So when we're in the west, we're kind of in hibernating. We're nurturing those dream seeds internally. We're being asked to retreat and to contemplate. And so if I come out here and I'm drawn to a particular horse or particular energy, that is one of the things that I'm paying attention towards, is where do I feel called in the space. So if Tarina's calling me, then I might sort of pay attention and get curious about where's my energy wanting to go within and to nurture, let's say, visions or intentions internally. Where am I being asked to take some rest and retreat and contemplation? When I'm recording this, I'm actually headed off tomorrow for a week to Vancouver Island, which often is sort of my sort of recharge retreat, so that seems very fitting. The hind end, again, in the positioning of that is receptivity. We're just noticing just some horses are coming into the space here, so we're just going to pay attention. So just notice Tarina's body language right now, because this is all, so that she's just setting a boundary with Merlin over here. So her ear's pinned, she's holding her space. I think that's sometimes important, that we're protective of the spaces that we're in. So she just kind of let Merlin know with her ear pinned, and if you can see, he's not coming too close there. All right, we're gonna get a dose of you too. Let me just finish with Tarina. This video might be a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. So this is just information for me, that it's giving me a signal of where my energy wants to be, where I am, and then how I pull that forward is spending some time in contemplation, in retreat, being receptive and open to maybe what messages I hear when I go within. Also being Tarina with her medicine, because we'll talk about that, and then I'll maybe move over to Merlin since you're coming into the space a little bit. So Tarina is our elder lead mare. To me, she really is the epitome of the goddess, feminine energy. And so even being in the West, retreat, pulling our energy inward, receptivity, that's all sort of feminine energy. And so intuition. So what I might sort of pull in with it being Tarina also in the direction is, where's my intuition leading me? Where can I sort of apply more of that feminine energy for myself? So being receptive, it's that sort of receiving space, being a little bit softer in my energy. And then I also sort of looked at Tarina as almost like the embodiment of like my higher self or my inner goddess. So it's like, what maybe messages or information does that part have for me? And I need to create space to listen in order to hear it. And so that's sort of what I'm taking forward from that. There might be something for you in there too that resonates. So we'll talk about that. And then sometimes, so that we're going to complete with Tarina there. And anybody can let me know if that kind of resonates. And what happens when we're out here is there might be an energy that shows up. So I've been standing here being with Tarina, and that, by the way, Merlin has sort of come into my space. And what might be symbolic about that is this: when we create space to listen and to contemplate, what is wanting to come through can come through. And so the funny thing about Merlin coming over here, you'll just have to take my word for it, is with our horse card deck, which we created for the herd, I pulled Merlin's card about 3 times today. So what's cool about this is that he's sort of the one that sort of has come in as I've been standing here. And so then I get curious about what is his medicine and what do I feel when I'm standing here with him. So Merlin was born in the wild. He came to us in April of 2021. So he's been here less than a year. To me, he really represents the discernment, lived experience. He's a bit of a trickster. But one of the things that has been coming through for me with him, and we call him street smart, Merlin's a very kind of street smart horse, is trusting. Oh, so you know how I just said trust and he gave me his hind end? So this is big, by the way. So again, the hind end of the horse, he doesn't always do this. This is him saying, I trust you, that I'm going to show you my vulnerability. And he just is doing a lick and chew. For a wild horse, you know, who lived wild, who's still getting used to humans, this is a really big deal. So I'm just going to show you, he's in rest. So this is not a horse that's going to kick. This is a horse that is offering their hind end from that space of trust and vulnerability. And so there's something about what this theme is. The other thing too is sometimes when a horse wants to offer their energy, they'll turn their hind end. Their root chakras and their hind end. So if they want to ground or they want to support. So as I'm standing here, the things that I'm sort of feeling into is noticing maybe where he wants to lend me his medicine, that trust. So it could be a message that we can trust what we feel and what we know, to be vulnerable and to receive, which can feel like sometimes a vulnerable place to do. So especially for him, you can see he's kind of resting a little bit. Again, this is a blind spot of a horse. A predator in the wild, if they're going to take a horse down, they're going to go towards the hind end. So this is not a threatening, I'm going to kick you. And this is part of what my horses have taught me, of really discerning the energy behind. This is I trust, and I'm asking you to trust me. Vulnerability, grounding. So if you're watching this, then I would just say, let yourself take in what you want to take. If what I'm probably going to do after we do this video is to stand with Merlin for a little bit so I can kind of take in his medicine, because he's been kind of an energy that's showing up for me. But if I were to use my intuition to discern what I'm getting from this, is to trust what I read in the space, to trust my experience to guide me, because Merlin is really, I think, about street smart and discernment. He's learned a lot living in the wild, even though he's young, and that we sometimes have to trust our own instincts above what we're being told about what is true, even what we've been told from horses and their hind end, right? And so it's about listening to that deeper space of gut intelligence and elevating that above the voices of others. And so if I were to take that in from Merlin, it's that reminder to trust my own instincts, and not give power away to something outside of myself that might go against what I feel in my body, what's true. So if you're listening to this, it might be a message and an encouragement for you to trust what your gut is telling you, even if it might be different from what you're being told. But what do you feel? What's the information that you're receiving? And to really listen to that information. So that's kind of what I'm getting here. So that's just an example of a experience. It goes where it goes. We let the space guide us. Tarina's now back in grazing. So let me know what resonated for you in there, if there's something that felt true for you. If you want to learn more about our work and our horses, we have our links that we're going to share in the video to deepen that. And we always love hearing where it resonates for people. So let us know.